Hello and welcome. It's attorney Mark Blane practicing law here in San Diego, California. You're in an accident, you're almost done with medical care, and your medical doctor suggests another modality of medical care for your injury case. He or she suggests acupuncture. You wonder, what is it, how can it affect you, and does it really work? Well, in this video, I actually go in to interview an acupuncturist on this very question. I go down to his offices and we do a one-on-one exclusive on all the things that you need to know about on your accident case in relation to getting acupuncture care or not. So sit back, relax, and see what you think about our interview. Thank you. Hi, it's Mark Blane, and I'm here with Dr. Mario Mancini. Mario, thanks for joining me today.
Glad to be here.
Appreciate it. You know, I do a lot of personal injury cases, as you know, here in town, and I've got clients that get in car accidents, and sometimes I go, Mark, what other modalities of care can I try? You know, I've tried physical therapy, I've tried chiropractic, what else is out there? And I'll present to them the possibility of using acupuncture. Sometimes I'll have clients come back to me and say, you know what, I know exactly what acupuncture is. Then sometimes they'll come back to me and say, you know what, I don't know what it is. So why don't we start with that question today. What exactly is acupuncture?
Well, acupuncture is a modality of Chinese medicine, and there's many modalities of Chinese medicine, acupuncture being one of the many. And what acupuncture is a primary focus of reducing pain and inflammatory conditions of the body.
Now, it comes from Chinese medicine, right? Maybe 3,000 years ago, is that right?
Yep, over 3,000 years. It is a 3,000-year-old medicine, but it's relatively new in the medical system. And it's relatively new primarily because in the medical system now, we're required to have scientific and evidence-based medicine. And acupuncture is now considered at a national level evidence-based and scientific.
Okay, great, great. And then how long have you been practicing acupuncture care?
I've been practicing for about 17 years now.
Okay, great. So how does it work exactly? You know, a lot of people come to me and they'll say acupuncture care, they'll say, you know, how is it going to work? You know, there's needles that are going into me, right? And it doesn't hurt, right? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, really, when we think about needles, we think about these hypodermic needles, and really acupuncture uses hair-thin needles. And really, the premise I always tell my patients is, number one, the body's doing what it's doing to protect you. If the patient's in pain, the body's saying stop doing that. And if the body's inflamed, the body's saying don't move it. And what we're trying to do is interrupt that pattern, especially when it becomes chronic. So what acupuncture does, it has two effects. It has a brainstem effect and it has effect on the local problem. So at the brain level, acupuncture helps stimulate what are called opioids, the body's natural morphine. And when you have the body's natural morphine activated in the location, pain levels start to reduce.
So then it impacts nerve flow, correct?
Absolutely.
And the opioids come from the
brainstem.
The brainstem. Okay, great. Yeah, continue.
So when we release opioids from the brainstem, we're actually able to reduce pain inflammation in the area of the problem. Now at the local area, the primary focus is to increase oxygen-rich blood flow.
Right.
And if you increase oxygen-rich blood flow to a location, it will heal much better.
Great.
Any pain condition, and it's not healing, it's primarily due to an inflammatory response. It's a guarding effect.
Right.
What acupuncture does is it helps interrupt the signal. When you interrupt the signal, the muscle starts to release.
Wow.
When the muscle starts to release, the nerves that are running through the muscle fibers release. But most importantly, when we open up the muscle, we start to increase circulation into the area, which is the primary focus of healing.
Okay. Would you say that most of your patients, when they come to see you, they've had some previous experience with acupuncture care, or are they usually first-timers?
You know, it's interesting, 85 to 90% of our referrals are by medical doctors, and the patients that we see first time, but they trust the medical doctor has recommended it and they're going to try it, and they always thank their medical doctor.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And then are there different styles of acupuncture, and if so, which style do you use?
Yeah, there is quite a few styles of acupuncture. Chinese medicine is over 3,000 years old. So the style that we practice is biomedically based. And
okay.
It's biomedically based primarily because we need to understand the physiology behind the problem so that we can better communicate it not only to the patient but also to the medical community so that we can stay consistent as a specialty in the medical system.
Okay.
When we speak the same language, it's better communicated, the patient has the best care.
That's good. And then how many treatments are generally recommended when a patient comes to see you and starts medical care with you?
We normally go through a course of about 12 treatments, and within about 12 treatments we will see up to 50 to 80% improvement, and improvements can be anywhere from reduction of pain improve function, reduce the need for medication, basically improvements in their ability to perform their activities of daily living. And we like to see that within about 12 treatments.
Okay, and you'll see a good response probably halfway through.
Halfway through gives us the green light to say you're on the right track, let's keep moving forward.
Okay, great. How can acupuncture care help a person injured in a car accident or some sort of trauma-induced injury? You know, we have trauma-induced injuries and we have muscle imbalance injuries, which are really the two that we have out there. But, you know, I do a lot of car accident cases. Sometimes, you know, I see it in the medical records that the adrenal glands get affected. You know, the medical doctors don't really focus on that as much, you know, which I applaud the acupuncturists, because you guys really focus on how the kidneys, the adrenal glands are all related to what we call lymph flow to help get that scar tissue out of the body. And using the manipulation with acupuncture, how can a good acupuncturist help with that? To move that lymph to get the scar tissue to really exit the body.
Yeah, good question. Whenever you have a trauma and there's a impact on the tissue or the muscle fibers rarely ever heal back to normal. It'll heal in a cross fiber, or what we call an adhesion, also known as scar tissue.
Right.
What acupuncture does is it helps interrupt and break up the scar tissue. And once we can break up the scar tissue, that's going to allow more circulation going into the area.
And that's the point where the body starts to overcompensate to rebuild that area even more. Is that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always remember, the body's never doing anything to harm itself. It's doing it to self-protect.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is interrupt and reset the system. Once we interrupt and reset the system, the body's own self-healing capacity kicks in. But we have to trust it. We just tend not to trust it these days.
Right. So that's how it helps with lymph flow. You kind of touched upon blood flow and how we want to get that blood moving, because it has the oxygen, it carries the oxygen, helps get nutrients to the joints, especially where there's an injury in the spine. And I've had cases with you, and you've done marvelous work, by the way. One thing I like about your work is not only do you keep the patients happy and educated, but your reports are timely and always detailed. So that's always a good thing.
Appreciate that.
But yeah, but you touched on lymph flow, blood flow. What about nerve flow? How can the acupuncture system help with nerve flow?
Yeah, nerve flow is the premise of pain. Whenever you have pain, there is a nerve signal firing up to the brain, and the brain saying, ouch, I'm in pain. What acupuncture does is it helps interrupt that signal to help maximize that circuit. Once we can maximize that circuit, the body doesn't overcompensate. When you have a nerve signal that constantly fires, it's overcompensating. It's kind of like a smoke alarm that keeps beeping.
Right.
And what we're doing is we're going in and resetting the system with the needling, with the acupuncture. It's amazing what the Chinese understood, how to reactivate the body's own self-repair system by simply reassessing, reorganizing the body back to its previous state.
Very good. Here's a question for you. How does nutrition play a role with acupuncture care in general?
Great question.
I kind of surprised you with that one.
No, it's a great question.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, a lot of patients who come in with what we call adrenal fatigue, because they're constantly stimulating their cortisol to reduce the pain inflammatory complex. The adrenals will get tired, they'll get fatigued. Now, the adrenals handle all forms of stress: mental, emotional, physical, chemical, environmental stressors. You put a major trauma into that, that's a huge stress for the adrenals.
And by the way, let me jump in just for the viewers. The adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys, right? And they're basically, the Chinese have viewed those glands as a superior gland in the body and throughout their research. So I just want to let the viewers know that those are the glands that sit there, and they help get the scar tissue out of the body through cellular waste through the urine. Is that correct?
Yeah, the renal side of it is the filtration unit. The adrenals on top handle the stressors.
Okay.
So there's two components to it. The Chinese looked at it as one system. We now know that there's two parts to it: the adrenals and the renals.
Right.
Those are both critical in clearance of waste.
Yep.
The adrenals are important to handle the pain inflammatory complex, as well as the stress response. These patients are so stressed out,
right.
And once they start getting more and more fatigued due to the amount of pain they're dealing with, it's like a downhill spiral. And what acupuncture does, specifically nutrition, is what we do is we help reboot the adrenal glands. Once we reduce the pain inflammatory complex with the acupuncture, we start to support the adrenals with certain cofactors, diet, herbs, and nutrition, to build the adrenals so that the patient starts to feel like themselves again.
Great. So nutrition does play a vital role, and we've always suspected that, right? But some of the medical doctors don't really focus on that aspect when it comes to a recovery process.
They're not trained in it, and medical doctors are so inundated with patients and reports and the pharmaceuticals and surgery that the nutritional side is not something they're trained with, and that's where we come in and we fill in that gap. Because if we can start focusing on the upstream problems of a condition that's really a downstream effect, our goal is to help create a proactive mindset with the patient. Once we can start being proactive, we're no longer reactive, because most patients in today's world are so reactive. They're waiting for a problem to happen. Now, when you have an accident or an injury, you didn't know it was going to happen, but at that same time, it's a time to start taking steps to be proactive so that you don't keep falling back downstream.
Right, so the acupuncture philosophy is more proactive, which is great.
Absolutely.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So does medical insurance cover acupuncture treatments?
Yes, actually, now more and more we are seeing more insurance companies covering acupuncture. And in fact, in 2014, there's a law that's been passed that all insurance companies in the state of California are required to take acupuncture.
Great. And then, I do a lot of personal injury, and you'll accept medical pay payments if the patient has medical pay benefits underneath their auto policy. If they don't, and they have an injury case against a third party, you'll go on a lien with your bill, which means that you'll suspend payments until the case settles. Is that right?
If we can help the patient in any way possible, we'll do it.
Awesome. That's really vital. And there's a lot of folks out there that don't have health insurance, and they don't have med pay insurance. They get into these car accidents or these traumas, and they just don't know where to go. So that's great to put this information out there. And one final question about pain. I know that acupuncture can help with pain levels, and I know one of the goals, a lot of times the medical doctors are so programmed to go ahead and go into cortisone shots and get that pain level down. What are some things that acupuncture can do to maybe prevent that from happening as a proactive measure to avoid that? Because we know cortisone, if it's going into the body in a shot form, it's going to affect those adrenals negatively.
Yes, there's a time and place, and there's times that the cortisone is needed to help really break a strong pattern of pain inflammation. I often see it being used a little too much, and when you use any kind of external form of medication, it is going to have a downstream negative effect on function. We all know that, especially with cortisone. If you're including something like insulin into the body, the pancreas will reduce its need to stimulate insulin. So we have to be really mindful not to overuse any external source that the body can actually do by itself. And what acupuncture does in Chinese medicine is it helps reboot, restore, and really support the body's natural function. That's why we really look at this as a integrative approach, using the best of both medicines, not cutting off one medicine from the other, but really providing the best patient-centered care, which is really looking at what the patient needs the most.
Perfect. And that, of course, diet and nutrition plays a huge role in that as well.
Major role. And
a lot of people forget about that. A lot of, I talk to
remind them.
You remind them. Good, because I can't do it on the lawyer side. I can't tell them about nutrition. So, okay, great. And I also noticed that you not only hold a licensure in acupuncture in California, but you're also you hold a doctorate in Oriental medicine.
Yes.
So please share with our viewers how that makes you different than other acupuncturists out there.
Yeah. So when I graduated with my master's in Chinese medicine, I realized right away that I wasn't able to understand the medicine at the level of science that I needed to help most patients that were being referred by medical doctors. So what I did was I went back to school and went for my doctorate in understanding the science and the physiology behind the medicine. So now that I understand the science behind the medicine, I'm not only able to communicate to the patient, but most importantly, I'm able to communicate to the medical community. With that better communication, with that better languaging, the patient receives the best medical care because the doctor understands the medicine from a science perspective, as opposed to something that's Chinese to them.
Yes, love it. Well, great. Where are you located? Where can folks find you?
We're here in Mission Valley. We're at 3547 Camino Del Rio South. Our website is manciniacupuncture.com. And our phone number is...
I'll put that in the contact section. That was a really great interview. Thank you for joining me, Mario. I really appreciate that.
Glad to be here.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us. I'll put Dr. Mario Mancini's contact information in the link below. Have yourself a wonderful day, and thanks again for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Dr. Mancini has been practicing for over 17 years. And so if you need more information on him, I'll put contact information in the link below. But remember, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I put up videos all the time on BlaneLaw.com. If you have any questions, you want to pick up the phone and give me a call, not a problem. Love to answer questions for people whenever I can. So to that end, thank you very much for joining us on this interview segment of BlaneLaw.com. Thank you. Bye-bye.